Excuse me. Probably shouldn't have drank soda water.
Yeah, you're good. I want my flat.
That was a terrible idea. Hey guys, it's Nathan with Crown and Caliber coming to you from my sunroom / office as we are now trending into week 3, if not 4, of this new stay-at-home, work-from-home situation. And I have the pleasure of talking with Noah Williams today. And Noah Williams is someone we've worked with, I think, since around 2018. He can correct me if I'm wrong. He is truly a jack of all trades as far as content goes. He's written for us. He's come to our office. We've used his photographs. He is a fascinating man. So I will stop patronizing him and let him introduce himself and tell you guys a little bit about what Noah Williams does. Take it away, man.
Awesome. Thank you, Nathan. Noah Williams Style on Instagram. I don't love the word influencer, but that's what I've been called. I specifically work in the menswear and a little bit of the watch territory on Instagram. By day, I am not in the industry. I'm a marketer, still in digital marketing, but that's it.
Well, that's awesome, Noah. Well, thank you for taking some time and hanging out with us, or I guess I should say me, this afternoon. Just kind of want to jump in. How are you, man? How have the past couple of weeks been for you up in Charlotte?
Doing good. You know, it's obviously an odd time for everybody. Like you said, you're in your sunroom. I'm in my apartment on the edge of uptown Charlotte. My one bedroom is getting smaller and smaller by the day, but I was actually traveling the first week of March. So when I got back, the second week I was actually sick and had the majority of symptoms. So I have been home really since basically the second week in March, trying to stay home and be responsible. All better now and good to go. But yeah, it's an odd time for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, is there anything you've done in these 2.5, 3 weeks that's outside, other than a completely new routine, that's outside of what you would have normally found yourself doing? Have you picked up any new, I hate to even say it, but like hobbies? Is there anything you're hoping to achieve from this new kind of new normal, as I'm going to call it?
Sure. So I'm actually lucky enough with my marketing job to be able to use a VPN and sign into my work computer still. So from about 8 to 4:30 every day, still business as usual, if not actually more. We're producing a lot of content right now for our industry to help our customers kind of know how to navigate the waters. We work with a lot of small businesses and distributors, so really being able to help them navigate different bills and laws that are coming out, in addition to resources we can provide for them. But outside of that, I've gotten back into biking. So you have a very nice road bike behind you. I've gotten back into riding a little bit of trails. So I've been riding through uptown Charlotte as well, whenever there's less people out. A lot of wrist shots, and a lot of coffee. So it's been good.
Yes. Those are things that are quite prevalent in my house. Lots of coffee, lots of biking. So what are you wearing on your wrist right now, man?
So right now I'm wearing actually my loaner from you guys this month,
Nice.
the Overseas Dual Time from Vacheron Constantine. GMT on a bracelet, super cool. Out of the kind of holy trinity of Patek, AP, and Vacheron, definitely the one that gets the least amount of love. I've had it in for about 3 days now, and I definitely think it's a sleeper in the market. I've actually had a few of my followers message me and say to not blow it up, because it is one of those things you can still get at retail, or even from you guys, it's available below retail right now, in pretty much immaculate condition. But I absolutely love this watch so far.
Yeah, and I know you and I have actually talked about it, but I fully buy into Vacheron as the sleeper in the Trinity. And I don't think, and for those that are watching that aren't familiar, the Trinity refers to Vacheron, AP, and Patek, or Patek. And I think, what do you say?
I say Patek. My friend's an authorized dealer for them. He says that as well.
Okay, cool. Then we're good there. So, but yeah, I think they get the least love as far as when you're getting into watches or you're nerding out. I feel like people don't necessarily give them the time of day. And maybe it's because, Patek has the Nautilus, or they're just Patek, or AP has the Royal Oak, and Vacheron kind of just sits there kind of behind the scenes. But I'll tell you, every Vacheron I've ever seen has impressed me. And I mean that like unequivocally. That's not hyperbole. So that's a solid pick you got, man.
Yeah, and I think with this watch, it really falls nicely between AP's normal Royal Oak and the offshore. It says 41 millimeters. It really wears more like a 42, but it still isn't super chunky on the wrist. And the bracelet compared to an AP or the Nautilus just feels a little bit more robust to me.
Yeah.
Definitely think, with AP, it's mostly a brushed bracelet. But there are these kind of polished links. This doesn't have that. It actually has it on the very, very inside of the bracelet. So in daily wear, this is something I could definitely see getting less scratches on it and looking fresh a little bit longer.
I like that. That's good pointers as far as like the day-to-day wear and what you notice. Because unless you are wearing a watch day-to-day, those kind of things, I think, fall through the cracks. And I had a conversation with a friend. I'd love to get your opinion on this, but he was picking out his first nice watch, and he had it narrowed down to 4 or 5 models, and he was going through and saying the pros and cons of each one. And a lot of these cons are the things he didn't like about the watch, and even the pros were things that it was so minute, and dare I say asinine. And I just stopped and I was like, hey man, a lot of those things are things that you may have read that someone else may believe, but until you've held this watch and experienced this watch, I'd be wary to say that those are necessarily pros and cons. And I think it kind of helped him be like, oh yeah. And the best example I use is myself in experiencing the Rolex rattle bracelet. I used to always poo-poo them until I started to handle them all the time. And I was like, you know what? I kind of like that. I like the lightweight, kind of flimsy feel, if you can say that, of the Rolex bracelet. So I don't know if after you've experienced numbers of watches, like what do you think about people and their opinions? Have you found them more often to be true, or do you think there is this kind of, well, I've heard this, I've read this, so this must be true, and I continue to kind of reiterate that?
I think you really have to be on the same page as the person reviewing the watch. We all have such unique tastes, but there are certain types of people, like with vintage Rolex, for example. I know that guy's going to be into bourbon, probably vintage Porsche, cigars a lot of the time, as well as other vintage stuff. And if you can find someone that you really have a very similar taste to, I think that's huge. I honestly never would have considered buying this watch. It's still, fairly expensive, $20,000, $25,000. But it's one of those things, I think you have to experience these watches and see what you really connect with. There have been a number of watches, the Rolex Oyster Perpetual, the base gray dial one. I, in the past, have handled the Explorer one, whatever you want to call it, and it just didn't connect with me. And I thought, oh, there's no way that this Oyster Perpetual is something that would be of interest to me. But then I handled it, and I had one. And, having it a month on the wrist really changed my opinion of that watch. It really is basically the same watch in a lot of respects at 39 millimeters. But there's just something unspoken in watches, and you either connect with them or you don't. And I think even going past brand marketing and the idea of selling luxury in these pieces, there's just something you connect with. For instance, the two-tone Datejust. That was my first kind of Grail watch growing up. I didn't grow up around a lot of people that had Rolexes. And this was something that I looked up to as aspirational. And trying on the watch, I did connect with it. But there have been pieces in the past that I definitely thought, oh, I'm going to love this, like that Explorer 1, and you get it on the wrist, and something that falls flat. So I don't think it's a price thing. I don't think it's a brand thing. I really think it boils down to your personal taste. And a lot of the guys at different places like a Blog to Watch or Hodinkee, there are certain editors that I find that if they review a watch and then I get to see it later on, I have a lot of the same thoughts. So you just have to find different people that have similar taste.
Well, hey, you mentioned something about that date just being your Grail Watch back then. So I'll go ahead and ask the question. Is there a current aspirational Grail Watch that you have in mind? Knowing that you see a lot of watches, is there this kind of one out there that you would say is your Grail Watch?
I would say, and again, partnering with you guys and other people, I've been so lucky. I feel like I've been through probably 20 decades of collecting, just getting different stuff in every month. The 15300 with white dial, or even the 15400 in the slightly bigger size. From AP is a really, really beautiful watch. Again, I love this, but there's just something about the bracelet and just really the soul of that watch that speaks to me. I don't know, there's just something with that 15400 that really speaks to me. I had a 15300 from you guys with a white dial. It was an older model. I think it was like a 2004 or 5 where it still had AP up at the top.
Yeah.
And that watch was perfect. And with a lot of my watches, I love to have a clasp that has some sort of adjustability because I am, as a lot of watch guys are, very particular about how things fit and sit on the wrist. So I generally do stay away from those kind of bracelets, but the AP bracelet just fit really perfectly. And it's something I would love to own someday. That is a solid pick. And I think if you look at the Trinity and you look at their bracelets, there is something about that AP bracelet, man. Like when you see that for the first time and just the finishing on it. And I think it's like you said, it's something that kind of connects with you or doesn't. And that can happen with a Casio or a Seiko, and that can happen with a Vacheron or an AP. And I think that's like a big essence of what's so great about watches is it doesn't really have to make sense. I mean, like this right here does far more, but I put this on every morning. I mean, I'm working from home. You're working from home and we're wearing watches. How many watches? Like a different one every hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that is something that whether it's the Seiko or the Rolex or the Vacheron, I think that is shared in the industry. It's like, I don't necessarily have to explain why. And that's kind of part of it. Like there is this emotional attachment to it that's never going to come from the phone.
Yeah. And it's an aesthetic taste thing as well. I often equate, so the Holy Trinity being, as we said, AP, Patek, Vacheron. AP is kind of the Lamborghini of that space where the styling cues are very aggressive. It's very in your face, kind of bold. Whereas Patek and the Nautilus is a little more rounded off, a little more refined, like Ferrari would be. Still a very aggressive nature to it, but it's toned down. And then Vacheron, it's very similar to a Porsche. You are going to have very soft design cues, certain designs that just continue to evolve throughout the years, but still really hold true to those core beliefs and design.
That's a great analogy. When you say that, and I immediately think Lamborghini, Royal Oak, just like angular, like
an Aventador or a Con, just
aggressive, just mean, like, and it's kind of unapologetically that way.
Right.
So you say you're switching watches almost every hour. Is there right now a go-to in your collection or something that you're just kind of going through this love spell with, that when you look at your watches, you're picking that one up most days?
So the Datejust, like I said, the Datejust was the one that really kind of kicked it off for me. And having worn a lot more modern stuff recently, the 36 millimeter size just doing it for me.
Yeah.
Found myself picking up, I have a Nomos Club Campus and an Omega Seamaster, the 300 professional ceramic dial, whatever. And
black or blue?
Blue, of course, blue. Blue is my favorite color.
That navy, such a sleeper.
Such a sleeper, I think. So I had the 2015 model. I actually bought it from you guys. I think it was around $1,000. There's nothing better if you want to go with a mainstream. So there's some brands that are micro brands like Monta that have similar offerings for sports watches in that price category. But I think from a major brand, something that is going to hold value long term. It has just fantastic history with the Bond films.
Yep.
Just culture in general. But anyway, those two watches were both kind of more what I was going towards. But when you can switch out, as much as you want to, I've really gravitated more towards the 36 millimeter Datejust recently. And it's been a lot of fun.
I love the Datejust. And back to what I was saying about opinions and people have every opinion in the world as far as the date goes, but I was so against the date until I had one, until I wore one, and then I was like, I kind of like the date on a Datejust. There are plenty of watches that don't need it, but it's a perfect example of it works. Like, it just works.
Yeah.
Do you have any watch hot takes?
Watch hot takes. I have a lot. If we were talking, I think everything kind of looks the same right now.
In what specific? Give me an example. That's a good hot take.
So I think with watch design right now, we're seeing a certain amount of homologation, where blue dial, stainless steel, bracelet, or integrated bracelet even, are just, every brand's got one. Obviously every brand has a round watch and something on the leather strap. So there are certain design cues that become more mainstream. But like Chopard, Piaget, AP, Patek, Vacheron, all have a watch that look almost the same. Hublot even is now doing integrated bracelets on stuff like the Big Bang. And you kind of wonder, how long is that trend going to last?
I hadn't thought about that, but as you started to say that made me also think of Zenith Defy.
Yep.
The new Bell & Ross B05 or BR05. Those are the first two that came to mind. I was like, oh man, integrated.
Yeah, they're all great watches. They really are. I mean, outside of, I haven't seen the Piaget in person, but other than that, I have seen all of them. Chopard, I haven't seen the Chopard either. There's nothing wrong with them. On their own merit, they are great, but it's the same thing, with fashion. You see trends every maybe 10 to 15 years kind of recirculate. So I think we are kind of just in one of those phases right now where that very industrial, potentially even a little bit cold design of things like this, honestly, bleed across the industry. And they're not wrong in any one respect. But when there's a mass adoption of those things, it gets a little boring for us.
Well, there you go. And hey, if it's gonna come from anyone, Noah Williams Style is probably the best person to gain some hot takes as far as the industry and style from. So thank you so much, man. It has been a pleasure, and you enjoy yourself in Charlotte, and hopefully this new normal has a light at the end of the tunnel.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, Nathan. Appreciate it.
All right, you take it easy, bud.
Okay. See you guys later.